Inspiration, I think, can come from anywhere. I'm fortunate that I never have writer's block. It just doesn't exist for me. I love the blank page, and I've always got something on the go. I became a writer because I was terrible at everything else. I never wanted a 9-to-5 job. I just hate the idea of going into some place at 9 o'clock and leaving at 5. I just wasn't suited for it. I can do it for about a year and then I get really restless and I become a terrible employee. And I just wanted to do music. I wanted to play in bands and tried for years, never got anywhere. But what came out of that were ballads that I wrote, and the ballads became stories and the stories became novels. So it just happened that way. It was never an ambition, you know, I didn't really grow up thinking that I could be a writer. It just didn't seem to be a real prospect, and suddenly I just became one. I think the book that had the biggest effect on me was Trainspotting, because I made a lot of money from it and I could pack in the day job and become a writer. My favourite book of my own books, it changes all the time. Sometimes it's Glue, sometimes it's Marabou Stork Nightmares. Right now it's Skag Boys. I think that's probably my best book. But Skag Boys is a bit more of a growing up sort of Trainspotting. It's a bit more about cause and effect and about deindustrialisation and about the changing politics of the Thatcher era and how that affected the life choices of working class people. Whereas Trainspotting is more about bang, this bunch of addicts that are trying to sort of roughly trying to get off drugs or trying to score drugs. I used to think that Trainspotting was a drug book, basically, and then I thought it was a book about youth, and that's why it lasted so long and new generations kind of discovered it and got into it as their book. Now I think it's more than that. I think it's a book about learning to live without paid work. You know, what do we do when we're in a position, what do we do when we learn to live without paid work? I think that's why now so many middle-class people are into it, because they all feel they're members of the precariat, and it kind of rings true for them in a way that it maybe didn't back in the 90s when they saw it as being more of a working-class book. I never know how much of Trainspotting is inspired by my own life. I'm one of those writers that you let the subconscious do the heavy lifting. You write from your subconscious. You don't consciously try to craft anything or to develop a story or to develop plot lines. And Trainspotting is probably one of the most extreme examples of me doing that. I've done it with some other books as well. And you don't really know. I mean, there's certain things that I thought were nothing to do with me, and then somebody's come along and said, oh, that was the time when we did this, or that was the time when we did that. And you think, my God. And then there's other times when you've said, I can trace this back to something. I've maybe asked the question that writers always ask, like, what if this person was a bit different, a bit older, a bit younger, a different sex, a different ethnicity? What if the other person they were talking to was a bit different? And by changing the characters, you start to change the story because they interact slightly differently with each other. So I think I do a lot of that. But I think when you write a book, when you write any book, there has to be something of you in it, because it's all coming through your lens. I think a good book needs to have strong characters, for me, characters that I believe in. It needs to have a bit of suspense in it. It needs to have some kind of momentum. It needs to have some kind of reason for you to keep turning the page. And usually for me, it's because there's characters that I care about and I want to find out what happens to them. I think the thing is that you have to acknowledge as a writer what the things are, what your own voice is. Writers take a long time to find their voice. Once you find your voice, it doesn't mean to say that voice should become a comfort zone. It shouldn't be this comfort blanket you wrap around yourself. You should be trying to kind of constantly extend yourself as a writer. You should be trying to tackle new themes, to look at new issues, to go deeper and deeper and deeper into the whole miasma of all these kind of psychological processes and strange corruptions and the strange kind of foibles that we tell ourselves. It's an opportunity to dig deeper in a lot of ways. I still enjoy drugs, I still enjoy a drink. I just don't do them so much now, because if you're used to being intoxicated, if you've taken every single kind of drug and you've done it in excess for a long time, you actually know what's going to happen in advance of it happening. And once you know what's going to happen, it kind of spoils the fun a bit. The whole purpose in life of growing up and getting older is actually turning your hand to different things, taking an interest in different things. Sometimes, I remember I was out with Andrew Innes from Primal Scream, and we were drinking tea, and we're having a great day out, just chatting away and drinking tea and watching people going around us. And Innes said to me, "Sobriety is brilliant, it's like the new getting fucked up." And it was, because everything was so vivid, and it was so nice and beautiful and vibrant, and you think to yourself, days are like this. You know, a lot of the time I've dampened these days down with drugs and alcohol. I don't necessarily want to do that all the time. You know, occasionally, yes, but not all the time. To me, the most overwhelming lesson I've learned, I think my dad used to say this to me, it was like everything changes and everything passes. So if you're having a really bad time, just tough it out, because things will get good again. You know, don't catastrophize, just let it pass, basically, because it will pass. And equally, if you're having a really, really good time, enjoy it while you can, because it's going to get crap again at some point, you know? So that's the thing, enjoy the good times and don't dwell on the bad.